to note is I just started it. This will be a recorded session. It will show Lisa speaking and her slides that are up. But if you don't want your face to be shown at all, you can just turn your camera off, although it shouldn't show you in the recorded video. But you're more than welcome to leave your camera on. It's always great to see some good faces, smiling faces, but we do ask that you please leave yourself on mute during the presentation. Feel free to chat amongst yourselves in the chat box. If that's not showing up for you, if you look at your toolbar on the bottom, you'll see a chat bubble, and if you click that, it'll bring the chat up. So drop some links, ask questions. There will be a Q&A for Lisa at the end, the last 20 or 15 minutes. But if you don't want to forget it, just pop it in the chat box and we will circle back to it. And again, feel free to talk amongst yourselves in the chat box as well. A couple LSC updates. We're really excited to be going strong in 2021. This is going to be a big, exciting year for us. Just to stay up to date, the most accurate way to stay up to date with all of our stuff is to follow the LSC on Facebook. And I just dropped that link in the chat box. And you can always scroll up. I know sometimes a lot can get popped in there at once. Just scroll up and all the chat should be saved for you. Another thing to note is we are in the final stretch of our community microgrant program. And I'm dropping the link for that application and details in the chat box as well. So for those of you that don't know, this is our first cycle awarding community microgrants, and they're between $250 and $500. Oh, I'm sorry, $2,500. And they're just going towards different community programs and initiatives around the city, working towards a more sustainable Louisville. So if you're an individual, a nonprofit, a business looking to make a sustainable shift and go green, check out the microgrant program. It's a really good opportunity to get some seed money. If you need any help figuring out how to get your project or initiated or started, or how to tie it into the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, you can always shoot me an email and we can have a conversation and we can figure it out. So I will put my email in the chat box as well for anyone to reach out to me. And I think that's it for LSC. We'll conclude at the end with a couple other announcements from some of our attendees. But in the meantime, Lisa, the floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. Happy Inauguration Day. I think I took a big breath and I hope everyone else did. And so I'm real excited. I think it's a great day to talk about Louisville Grows and our Community Garden Grant Workshop for 2021. I know some of you have probably been or participated in green drinks when Louisville Grows Executive Director Ked Stanfield has talked more about our urban forestry program, but I'm going to speak tonight about our urban agriculture program. Okay. So just a small brief introduction to Louisville Grows. We are a 501c3 environmental nonprofit. We're located in the Portland neighborhood. We this past August celebrated our 11th anniversary, so we've been around for 9 years. Or I'm sorry, we formed in 2009, so we've celebrated our 11th anniversary. Our mission is to grow greener, healthier neighborhoods. We do that through fostering green, equitable, sustainable communities. A big part of Louisville Grows, other than the urban forestry program, which is probably our main and most noteworthy program because we plant over 1,000 trees a year. Last year, we planted 1,300 trees, even in the time of COVID, which was very difficult for us because we are a volunteer-based organization. Our community garden grant program is the heart of our urban agriculture program. And I'm sorry, you all might hear my dogs, even though they're on the other side of the door. But the urban agriculture program was designed to build capacity within existing community gardens and help create new community gardens. I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but there's a lot of benefits to community gardens, and we support all of those benefits. Um, it, as you know, Louisville Grows works primarily in the 21 neighborhoods that are in the west and south part of Louisville. Those are neighborhoods that are part of the food apartheid. Lack of fresh grocery stores, although we have some really good ones that are opening up, such as the Black Market down on Market Street. Um, but that's kind of how our community garden grant started. If we look back at the history of Louisville Grows, um, it all began with people sitting around in their living room making seed balls and throwing them out into vacant properties to create either pollinator gardens or to hopefully have some vegetables sprout up. So right now, more than ever, access to fresh, healthy food is so important. The neighborhoods that we tend to serve also are not the healthiest neighborhoods. They have a lot of pollution problems, which is why we plant the trees. And so we feel like this is really important that we're able to offer these grants. Typically, our grants or community gardens that apply for grants are looking more towards increasing vegetable and herb production. But this year, Louisville Grows was named the 5th affiliate in the country of the Giving Grove project. And you can take a look at that. I invite you to Google Giving Grove. But Giving Grove is producing thousands and thousands of pounds of fruit by providing fruit trees and technical assistance to communities with orchards. So we're really excited to be named the 5th affiliate. We were supposed to kick that off the ground running last year, but with COVID, it was pushed back to this year. But it will be a part of our community garden toolkit as well as our grant this year. So community gardens who are wanting to either strengthen their orchard program or actually start an orchard, or maybe someone just wants to have not the community garden with vegetables and that, but just wants an orchard. We're going to be able to introduce the Giving Grove project into our program. So when we're talking about community gardens, we offer a community garden toolkit. I'm happy to send that out to anyone. And that is discussed in the workshop. It is the primary document that we go over in our workshop. And basically, we feel like there are two responsibilities of the community garden, our community gardener within a community garden, and that is to make sure that they are taking care of their plot, tending to it, and also contributing to other roles within the garden. That could be just teaching new gardeners how to garden, or starting a compost system, maybe helping install rain barrels, mowing, weed eating. We hope that they are doing that either with push mowers or electric devices. And that also can be something that can be asked for within the grant, are those those tools to help with the garden. Our community garden toolkit goes through all of a step-by-step process of how to start a garden and what the different roles are within the community garden. So the toolkit is a guide. It helps leaders. And the reason I'm saying leaders is because that's usually who comes to our workshops, are people who are actually currently leading the community gardens or wanting to create a new community garden or wanting to revitalize a community garden. Some community gardens will go dormant for several years, and then all of a sudden, someone who wants to initiate the process and kind of lead that garden and get residents involved again will pop up at our workshop and want to uh, receive a grant in order to do that. The toolkit, like I said, is a step-by-step guide on how to start a community garden. It goes over everything from how to research the plot of land that you may want to start the garden on, how to contact the landowners for that, how to set up a leadership team, what roles are important to that, decide whether it's a fee-based uh, garden, whether the plots are actually leased through the community garden team. And then within all that, we also have several documents. And these are all sample documents. They're meant to be made uh, to fit the community garden and how those community gardeners want to function as a team. But it is important that we give samples of these documents out because we require several of these to come back to us within the grant. Um, so the most important thing I have to say, in order to apply for a community garden grant from Louisville Grows, is that you have to have, doesn't have to be the leader per se, it can be anybody within that garden who is interested. They must attend one of the upcoming community garden grant workshops. This is where they'll receive the community garden toolkit. It's about a 17-page document. All the other documents from the previous slide we'll go over all of the toolkit information, and then we'll talk about how to apply for the grant. We require that there's a brief description of the organizational structure of the garden, including leadership and partners that are coming in. It's so important when a community garden is starting or in existence that it does have the buy-in of the gardeners and the residents within that neighborhood. That's when community gardens become very successful. We'll ask that they have a roster of potential community gardeners. That's just not this one person coming in, but they are going to have help and assistance and be able to create that leadership team. That they kind of budget out, look at initial cost and what they have or may not have that needs to go into the budget, which helps them think about what they might want to apply for within the grant. We do ask that they have a current lease or land use agreement, depending if it's privately owned or owned by Louisville Metro. And we ask for them to have a schedule. We want to see how they are going to be operating, and what type of events they're going to have to help sustain the garden. And that can be fundraising as well as seeking donations. There's some optional attachments that we require or ask for. You can put in photographs, those always help. A sketch of the garden if it has raised beds already or an orchard, the layout of the fruit trees and that, and support from community leaders, which could be lots of different people. Doesn't have to be necessarily anybody from Metro Louisville at all. It could be from a business located next to the garden that says, you know, we do support this. It could be another nonprofit within the neighborhood. But all of those help strengthen the grant. It is a scored grant, and as of, well, let me say 2019, because last year we primarily worked on, in the Russell neighborhood, on the Opportunity Corner community garden. Because of COVID, we did not put the grant out. But up until 2019, we have 26 community gardens that had received a grant from Louisville Grows. A little bit about when you receive a grant, and I'll gladly take any questions. I didn't know how much we wanted to get into the grant, because really what I'm hoping by presenting tonight is that some of you all are working in a community garden that would like to apply for this grant, that you or you know someone who might be wanting to start a community garden, apply for the grant, or if you can just share this grant opportunity to the folks in your neighborhood or to other neighborhoods where you know there might be an interest. With COVID and not being to go out and table and personally go to neighborhood association meetings, go to churches and such, the only way we're getting this grant out is through our social media platforms, websites, and introducing it to folks like you who have who understand how important it is to have fresh food and healthy food. So if you're not interested, if you know somebody who is, please share this information. The grant is $1,000 in kind. We do not write $1,000 check. The garden in the application will tell us what they're looking to have funded. We have had all kinds of requests. We had one garden in Old Louisville, very sustainable garden, been around, doing great. All they needed was dirt to replenish their garden beds. So we brought in a dump truck full of dirt and helped improve their soil and build their beds back up. We've had situations where we have actually helped build a water capturing device, even beyond just installing some simple rain barrels, but building a community space where the roof is sloped and is capturing about 8,000 gallons of water in these very large containers. All kinds of things. Some people just need tools. It just depends on what stage the garden is at. And then if you are granted a grant from us, it also allows us to work specifically with you during that year, providing technical assistance, helping you get volunteers to work in the garden when needed. Trying to think what else we've done. Workshops. We've brought in experts to do composting workshops, soil amendment workshops. There's lots of things that go along with the grant other than what the specific asks are for. And I kind of covered this. I have to say my communications coordinator made the presentation for me. She is an AmeriCorps Vista, and she's doing a great job, especially during this time when we're not all in the office all together. But these are just a few of the requests. I think I've mentioned pretty much all of these, except for the seeds and starts. Does the garden need seeds? Does the garden need plant starts? We get that request quite often, and Louisville Grows is more than able to help fulfill that request. So these are some photos of gardens that have received the grant, and you can see in the bottom corner that I can't think of the name of that garden. It's across from Mazik. If anybody knows the name of that garden, they have the largest pawpaw orchard that I know of in the city, but they wanted to start composting with their gardeners. So we helped them build a compost bin, and then had some people come in from Louisville Compost and help conduct a workshop for the gardeners. The one at the top where the tractor is in the picture, that's the one I was talking about. That's Hunsinger Lane Baptist Church. They have a lot of refugees out there gardening on that property. The nearest water source was 800 feet away from the garden beds. And the church was only allowing the gardeners to have 1 5-gallon bucket a week. Garden beds. Built this community gathering space where the water runs off into the containers there. I think that is about 8,000 gallons of water, and they can connect hoses and take them over to the beds. We also furnished them with enough hose in case there's a drought to connect to the church, got the church to fill those containers up when we're not having enough rain to do so. There's a couple other pictures, just all different kinds of gardens. We do, when you're a community garden grant recipient, we will make a sign for you and put it up saying that you are an official community garden, and just all different kinds of things we can help do. And that picture at the bottom, she's so happy to have those peaches. That's in the Portland neighborhood there. And we're hoping they come back and want to add some more fruit trees to that orchard. So like I mentioned before, in order to apply for the grant, we do ask that you attend the workshops. We have 2 workshops coming up very soon. Next Saturday, January 30th. That workshop is in the morning from 10 to 11:30. The next one is the following Tuesday on February 2nd from 6 to 7:30. There's the registration. It's on Eventbrite. The tickets are free, but we just like to see who's coming. It's a good way to capture people's emails as well. But you can go to tinyurl.com/LG Gardening Grant 2021. We'll release the grant a week after the last workshop, so on February 9th. The deadline for submission is March 19th by 11:59 p.m. And then we'll award the grants on April 5th. We typically, depending on the scoring of the grants, we give out anywhere between 5 and 12 grants every year. And so how do we support these grants? How do we get money to help these community gardens and provide these grants? It's through our Seeds and Start sale. Our Seeds and Start sale, typically in a non-COVID year, is conducted the first week in April and the second week in May. We have been working out of a greenhouse at the Shawnee People's Garden over the past probably 5 or 6 years. But Louisville Grows is building a greenhouse right next to our office, which is called Healthy House in the 1600 block of Portland Avenue. So we're excited about that. That should be up by the beginning of February. And then we have volunteers and staff come in, and we start a majority of our plants in the greenhouse from seeds that we have requested from all over the country. So we have some unusual varieties. And then we also bring in some starts uh, uh, from a local grower for some plants that are hard for us to get started. Primarily tomatoes, because it's a little early, and a lot of herbs are hard for us to start in the greenhouse. But we do that with staff and volunteers. That way, we can sell our plants at a very low cost, and every bit of the money from our seeds and start sale, our profit goes into our community garden grants. Last year, even with COVID, we had to stop and punt, like a lot of other people, figure out what we were going to do. Ended up doing a curbside service only. And staff, we're very small. We have 3 full-time staff and 3 contract workers and 2 AmeriCorps Vistas. We ended up having to seed and plant and pot all those starts ourselves. So for weeks on weeks, we were in the greenhouse working, but we did a curbside service. It actually went really well, and we made $30,000. So we were very proud of that. Some of those dollars went into the Russell Community Garden, like I said, at Opportunity Corner at 16th and Magazine. And then we have a reserve left over that we're going to add to this year's. Still with COVID, we're not sure if we're going to do just curbside service only. We're hoping to be able to put some tables out in the fields that are next to our greenhouse on Portland Avenue, and do some in-person sales. We have a survey that went out last week asking what people, trying to judge a comfortable level for people to attend something like that. Would they want to do it by appointment or not? So if you've purchased from us last year, or if you are a friend of Louisville Grows, you probably or should have received that survey. So I have to say, more information coming soon, because we're kind of trying to feel our way around and see, how COVID goes, and we want this to be. And then this is just my contact information. Please feel free to give it to anyone, or you contact me if you know of someone who would be interested in attending the community garden workshop and applying for the grant, or would just like to receive the community garden toolkit, which will help them kind of figure it out if maybe they do want to start a community garden if they haven't done so, or if they're trying to revitalize a community garden and they weren't involved with it initially. And the best way to find out any information about Louisville Grows is through our website or on our social media platforms. Once the workshops are over, we'll put reminders out about the application deadline, and then we'll be very excited to announce which community gardens are awarded the grants for 2021. So that's about all I have.
Okay, thank you, Lisa. That was
You're
very
welcome.
informative and pretty exciting, I feel. I'm really interested in so I guess one question I have for you to get us started with the Q&A is, can you attend the workshop even if you don't feel quite ready to start your own community garden, just to kind of get some background info?
Definitely. That's a great way to, well, I was going to say that's a great community event, but we're all on our laptops looking at it. But it's a great way to see who is interested, what neighborhoods they're from. That'll be the introduction at the workshop. And the Community Garden Toolkit is a great resource and guide for anyone considering that.
That's great.
And we
Well,
offer that throughout the year. We don't, if you ever know of anyone who's interested in the toolkit, we're happy to send that to them at any time during the year.
really, that's great.
Mhm.
That's good to know. Sorry, my husband's just bringing me a glass of water. Thank you. Okay, so any questions for Lisa? It can be about the community garden grants, Louisville Grows itself, the Season Start sale. What do you have for her?
I'd like to ask a couple questions. I put them in the chat, but do you have people test for lead before they grow anything?
Definitely. In the Community Garden Toolkit, that is one of the steps is to see, and even we recommend having it done before they actually enter into a lease. And we give them all the contact information with the Jefferson County Extension Agency. We work with Bethany Pratt quite a bit. Actually, the extension oversees quite a few community gardens. And they're open to apply for the grant. It doesn't matter that they're associated with the extension. We welcome that. We welcome church groups, schools. I know we have someone coming from Jefferson Memorial Forest where they're putting in a community garden. So as long as you're involved with the community, we welcome you to apply for the grant.
And then
But yeah.
where does your soil come from when you said you give people soil?
So I'm sorry, I can't answer that question. I know it is typically all our plants come from within 100 miles, and I'm talking about the plants the starts that we get for our seeds and start sale come within 100 miles. And I believe the soil came from someplace in southern Indiana, but I'm sorry, I can't read that. That was actually, I believe we gave that grant in 2018, maybe. That went to the old Louisville community garden.
Thank you.
But we're going to look. And it's going to be an organic soil. It's not going to be something that's dredged out of the river or anything like that. All our soil, potting soil, mulch, and compost that we offer for our seeds and start sale are organic. Not all our plants are organic, but all our soils that we use are organic.
Thank you.
If you want, Barbara, I can find out where that came from and let you know.
Yeah, it's really scary sometimes where soil comes from because you don't want to take topsoil from somewhere. I think sometimes there was one time that topsoil was coming from around Floyd's Fork and it was just being robbed from one place and given to another place. That's kind of scary.
Oh yeah, no, we would not do that. We are very conscientious of where our trees come from, as well as anything that we are providing through the grant process.
Okay, let's see. We have a couple comments in the chat box. Just shared to the Schnitzelberg Germantown community group. We have only recently moved to the neighborhood this year. Not sure if Louisville Grows has already done anything with the Emerson Park Community Garden, but they would eventually like to get a plot there. Do you know if you all are involved in the Emerson Park?
Yes. So before I started at Louisville Grows in 2018, the year before, the Emerson Community Garden did receive one of our grants. We typically ask community gardens to wait 3 years before they reapply. But this year we are not putting that stipulation because of COVID last year and still proceeding into this year. My understanding with Emerson Garden is there is a waiting list for a raised bed in Emerson Garden. And that may have been something that we did in the grant, was help them plant or build the raised beds. I know also in 2000, I want to say 18, beginning of 19, we did a tree planting. We've done several in Schnitzelburg, but at that tree planting, we actually planted all the trees that are surrounding Emerson Garden.
That's good to know. Thanks. I'm new to the neighborhood, so it seemed like there's been a lot of investment in that garden already because it seems heavily used. But I didn't know about the waiting list either, so
yeah,
probably get on that.
Yeah. So, Keen, if you want to email me or
Sure,
call me, I'm happy to find out. We have a list of all the community gardens located in Jefferson County. We have also given grants to Southern Indiana as well, just to let anybody know that who knows some people over there who might be interested. But if you want to contact me, I'll send you that information.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We got a question asking the dates of the seeds and start sale for this year.
So that's kind of a stay tuned situation. I'm kind of landlocked here. I can share tentative dates with you. But like I said, we're trying to see if we'll actually be able to do in-person sales. That is so much easier on our staff than the curbside sales. And people actually like to come in and see what they're buying instead of ordering online and putting it out on a table and picking it up. We are tentatively looking for April 10th and May 8th. And those are our kind of our standard dates that we do every year. I'm sorry, I think I said the first week of April and second week of May, and it's usually the second Saturday of April and May. We always do the week after Derby, and that's a really good time for people to come and purchase tomatoes. And I believe May 8th is also the Saturday before Mother's Day, so we also encourage making that a Mother's Day gift. Veggies and pollinators. We do have a lot of pollinators that we're going to be seeding and starting this year, native species pollinators. We'll have, if you watch our social media and stay connected with our website, we'll be announcing our pre-sale orders fairly soon. Our pre-sale has, like I mentioned before, we have compost, soil, and mulch, has that on there. It also has our fruit trees and our berry bushes that we sell. Those trees and berry bushes typically come from one of our partnering growers in Indiana or Shelbyville. And we have species that are good not only if you have a large yard, but if you have a small yard or you plant in containers, if you live in an apartment or condo. One of our hottest blueberry bushes is a small top hat blueberry that is a container blueberry that produces a lot of blueberries once you get it going. We also have what's called a fruit cocktail tree, specifically for urban gardeners with not a lot of property, but want a variety of fruit. And it's a grafted tree. I have one here in my own yard. I have 2 varieties of peaches, a nectarine, and an apricot all on one tree.
Ooh, that sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's really nice. And we have that type of peach fruit cocktail tree. We have an apple fruit cocktail tree that has a variety of apples on it. And then there's one that has plums and nectarines as well.
Yum. I have never heard of such a thing.
Yeah, they tend to sell out on our pre-sale list. The website, and you can also watch it. We have a designated website for our Seeds and Starts, and it's seedsandstarts.org. seesandstarts.org.
And I just popped that in the chat box for anybody that just wants to copy and paste it and jot it down, put it in their notes and remember it. But I think the best way to stay up to date, correct me if I'm wrong, Lisa, would be to follow them on Facebook and Instagram, and it looks like Twitter as well, and also stay up to date on their website for any updates. And Lisa, I have a question for you.
Right.
I'm assuming someone starting from scratch on a community garden, it would take quite the effort. Do you all have a recommended team size to start a community garden?
Yes, so it's really good to have someone who wants to lead the project, and then to have at least 2 or 3 other people want to really focus with that person and get going. We're also happy to provide whatever assistance we can in helping someone start a community garden or restart a community garden. Shelby Park has a community garden, started years ago, went dormant, looked very weedy for several years, and now it is up and thriving, and they received a community garden grant in 2019. We helped them build a little shed to store their tools, and again, with a nice sloped roof that drains into several rain barrels.
That's awesome. Very
Yeah.
cool.
We can even help you lay out your garden. It's and we provide, those are part of the documents in the toolkit. We always suggest that you use a graph paper, and then we have a little photocopy of different size garden beds, a fruit tree with a diameter that you need to allow it to grow properly, and you can just print that off, cut out all these little pieces, and then start placing them. Once you know how big your plot is, start placing them on graph paper to lay it out. We really try to make it as easy as possible for someone to start a community garden with the toolkit.
That's fabulous. And I just got a direct message from Sharon saying, as someone who's bought products from the Seeds and Start sale, they are of excellent quality. So we have a good testimony in the crowd, although I wouldn't doubt it.
Thank you.
And Julie,
I appreciate that. We have some really unusual things this year.
Yeah, I'm excited to look through what you got. Julie also had a comment. Could the community garden toolkit and other Louisville Grows resources be included in the LSC's Do Something Green resource library? Yes, absolutely. We have a couple of them listed, but that's a great idea, Julie, to refresh that. And for those of you that aren't familiar, the LSC does have an accessible resource library. We try and keep all the resources as local to Louisville as possible. So if you have questions about energy, transportation, recycling, composting, gardening, check it out. Hopefully we can redirect you to some local resources. So good idea, Julie. Do we have any other questions for Lisa about Louisville Grows, the community garden grants, the seeds and start sales. Any questions are welcome. She is the expert.
I would like to invite you as soon as we release any volunteer opportunities, whether it's coming to help us seed or pot starts in the greenhouse or planting trees. We did have a few volunteer opportunities planting trees at the end of last year. Very safe, put people in their own little bubble of groups to plant the trees. But we miss our volunteers. And so we'd love to have some of you all come once we get that out and figure out how to do it safely. Greenhouse is pretty easy to do. We can social distance. It's nice and hot in the greenhouse. Even when it's cold outside, it's warm in the greenhouse. And we'll be planting trees in Beachmont this spring. We've got about 300 trees we need to get in the ground.
Okay, yes, I implore everyone to explore those volunteer opportunities. They're a lot of fun, and the people that show up are always a blast. So if nothing else, it's a really great way to connect with the community a little bit more and get outside and get moving. So I'm looking forward to those volunteer opportunities opening back up. Well, any other questions?
I miss the community.
I know everyone is really realizing how sweet the nectar of community really is, having it be taken away. So thankful that we at least have this, even though it's via screen. It's better than nothing. So, you know, we appreciate each and every one of you guys for being here and showing up. Well, thank you, Lisa. That was an awesome presentation.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, I know we're on a little bit of a delay. That's something I always run into on Zoom. We always end up layer talking. So pardon me if I ever interrupt you. Okay, everyone. Well, if you can think of any other questions you have for Lisa, you have her email and her phone number. And before this event is over, you can still pop it in the chat box and she will be able to read it. Before I wrap up though, I have two people on call that would like to make an announcement, and we will start with Julie Donna from Metro. So Julie, you want to pop on?
Yeah, hey everybody. Good to see some familiar faces and some ones I don't know. So I'm Julie Donna. I am with Louisville Metro Government, the sustainability coordinator there. And so a couple of things, a couple of announcements, upcoming events from Louisville Metro is, and I'll try to pop these in the chat as I'm talking or maybe immediately afterwards. So one, we have a upcoming webinar about our EPAD program. So if anyone's not familiar with Louisville Metro's EPAD program, it's a financing tool for property owners, developers, and any commercial non-residential facilities who want to do some upgrades or for new construction to make them energy efficient, include renewable energy, and make them toward water conservation. Any sustainable upgrades that you want to make, this can help finance that and make that more, you know, financially favorable for you. And so we have a upcoming program about that. Just if you're curious, want more information, it's co-hosted by the Louisville Energy Alliance. So I'll pop that in the chat. And that webinar is coming up next Thursday at 11:30 a.m. So on the 28th. And so, so I hope to see anyone there or that's interested in developing some property in the most energy efficient way possible, or please spread the word to any property owners, developers, etc. that you know. And our other announcement is that we are actually hiring right now for a sustainability specialist. So our dearly beloved person in our sustainability team, Natalie Vizina, has held up. She moved to Michigan, but she's been holding on as long as possible onto our team, working remotely. But alas, she can't do that forever. And so we're hiring for a new sustainability specialist. And we're looking for someone who can really push sustainability forward in Louisville and can really raise the bar. And there's a lot of opportunities. I'm not biased, but it's a great team to work with. And so please send that job application to anyone who's interested. Please spread the word to anyone who can. Thank you, Julia. Please spread the word to anyone who might be interested in applying and qualified with any kind of background in environmental sustainability. And so yeah, really exciting opportunities there. And that's all I have. But let me know if you have any questions as well.
Sweet, good stuff. Thank you, Julie. And it is a great team, truly. So spread the word because someone would be lucky to land that position. And if you do think of any questions for Julie, you can pop them in the chat box and she will directly message you. And then we also had Elizabeth from Every Commute Counts. Let's see, I'm looking, I don't know if I see her, but I know she wanted to make an announcement. Elizabeth, if you're on there, maybe under a code name, perhaps.
I know that Elizabeth, I know what Elizabeth wanted to share. I don't have the link on hand like she would, but I don't know.
I'll pop it in the chat box. So I know that she wanted, and let's see, it's a survey for active transportation in the public. This is through Every Commute Counts. If everyone has time and can take a quick survey about the active transportation in the public, that would be great and would be very helpful for Every Commute Counts. So that would be.
And for those who don't know, KIPTA is the Kentuckiana Regional Planning Agency. So they are looking at, they do transportation planning for the whole region. And so it's very exciting that they're looking at active transportation, and even more exciting that they want some public input. So this is a great opportunity to put your input in and have a say in what our transportation is going to be in the future in our region.
Absolutely. Thank you, Julie. And I saw that Lisa posted a little bit more info in the chat box with everything she covered. So be sure to copy and paste that so you can save it for later. Any more questions about LSC, Louisville Metro, Louisville Grows, just in general? How was your day? Anything that you guys want to cover? This is normally the time where we would all be kind of separating with our beers going into our side conversations, and I missed that, and I am looking forward to getting to do that hopefully sooner than later. But any last remarks before we part? And I will just put some plugs in the chat box one more time. If you don't already, follow the LSC on Facebook. That's the best way to stay up to date on everything we're doing and all of our members and what they're up to. And then last but certainly not least, we are in the home stretch of our community microgrant program, which is funding different local programs, projects, and initiatives aimed towards making Louisville a more sustainable community. So you can click that link and learn more. If you have a project in mind, but you're not sure how to get it to connect to the reduction of greenhouse gas emissions, you can shoot me an email and we can talk it over and make it work. We are here to support you and we're excited about all the work that's being done in our community. So we're excited to have a part in it. And I guess that's it. 2 minutes to go. It was great to see everyone. Thank you for being here. This recording will be on our website, which is LouisvilleSustainabilityCouncil.org. So if you want to backtrack and re-listen to all the great info that Lisa shared today, or Julie as well, you can rewatch it. It'll be up tomorrow afternoon. So thank you everyone for being here. Happy Inauguration Day. I hope the sun continues to shine for the rest of the week and over the weekend. And I look forward to seeing everyone at the next Green Drinks. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys.
Have a great night.